What's going on, guys? Welcome to The Cut. Today, we're taking a look at GawxArt. And shout out to all you guys who've been asking me to cover Gawx's stuff. I appreciate it. There was a lot of you guys, so thank you guys. So there's been a ton of you guys asking me to cover a bunch of creators. And I feel like it's going to take me, I don't know, maybe like 6-7 months to get through them all. So the more that you guys comment on creators and creators you guys want me to cover, if I start to see, duplicates, those creators are going to get bumped up to the top. And right now, here are all the creators that you guys have asked me to do. So if there's any creators on that list that you really want me to cover, please comment down below and they'll get bumped up in the queue. All right, so I watched a ton of Gawx's videos, and there are some themes and techniques that he uses across a lot of his videos that I do want to cover. So before we start, make sure you guys keep these techniques and tools in mind. 1, moving time lapses, lighting and color shifting, match cutting, how fast the pacing is, and the movement in every shot. So aside from those things, I actually found 2 very important things about Gawx and the things he does that I find really sets him apart from creators. 1 being the problems he puts into his storytelling, and the second thing we'll get into a little later, which is something I think a lot of you guys can relate to and start using. So before we get started, I did want to touch on these group cohort sessions that I talked about in the previous video and in the community tab. Initially, what I want to do is host these weekly group sessions with 3 or 4 other creators where you guys can share your videos and we can all critique them, give feedback, and just improve that way. But I've been getting a lot more people either wanting to do some private sessions or some creators that don't have workout yet, but love these creator breakdowns and might want to do more of these creator breakdowns, but in a private setting. So what I've been working on is trying to figure out a way to communicate with you guys and see who's interested. So I have a link down below that you can actually go in, choose what you think is best for you in terms of value. Like if you want to do a group session, or if you want to do a private session, just so I have an idea of how to move forward with this, because I want to give as much value to you guys as possible. So I kind of really want to hear from you guys. So if you guys are interested in either these free group sessions or these free private sessions for the month of November, please check the link out down below, fill out the form, let me know, and I will be getting back to you within the next week or 2. So I hope to hear from a bunch of you guys.
Fashion. And when
Okay, right there, being able to cut and match cut all the outfits like that. He's standing in the same place, wearing different things. The lighting is great. He has 1 solid light in the back and then a gel over it is what it looks like. You can even tell where the light is placed. This looks like a C-stand here. And then you could tell that the light is by his head because of the glow. And then it looks like he has another key light somewhere off to the side where it's lighting half his face.
and when she in contact
And then he uses transitions so well. He goes from those shots to what looks like his TV.
and
If you go frame by frame, this color is different than this next frame here. Probably because he's shooting at a screen, but it goes so fast. It just looks so good.
and when she contacted me to create my own clothing collection with their Shinex program, of course I said yes.
So look how many shots he has within, 13 seconds. It just catches your attention so fast. Quick.
With their Shinex program, of course I said yes. It will be releasing on August
Lighting and color, right? So such an interesting use of color. The beginning he uses red. In his room it looks like this greenish yellow tint, and then in the kitchen it's blue. What I started noticing is because he is an artist and the colors he uses in his drawings, they're just so vibrant, it makes sense almost that his videos look like this.
the 21st. So I only have 1 month to create 11 designs. There's not much time to waste, so today I'm going to create my own fashion line from start
Gosh.
to finish. Let's do it.
Okay, as soon as he does this, he has this overlay of a file
First,
from like his computer. Boom. See, it looks like it's on a computer now. And then he clicks on it,
1 month to create 11 designs.
opens
There's
this
not
up,
much time
and then there's that whip transition to this. And this effect here,
to waste.
it almost looks like AI, where a lot of people on Instagram are doing this thing where you are essentially match cutting and using AI to actually generate the images.
There's not much time to waste.
But there's that little transform. It almost looks like different hands and stuff. But all that just because he's talking about time. You know what I mean? There's so much effort that goes into it.
So today I'm going to create my own fashion line from start to finish.
And all of this is stop motion animation. So what that is, if you guys don't know, you can take certain objects, place it, you essentially take a picture of it, and then you move it, take another picture, and then when you put it together, it kind of looks like that. What a lot of people start doing now is they'll record a long shot of it, start moving things, and then in editing from those videos, you can take still frames and images and then do it that way. Might be a little bit easier.
Some of the biggest inspirations and visual references for it. So to avoid getting off track later in the process, let's paste it on my wall.
So all of this is like backlit, which means that the lighting is behind the subject. You could tell it creates such a mood, and like the shadows are so harsh on his hands, right? So here, all the shadows that he's creating, the shadow on this side of the other hand as well. And here's such a great shot. The only light source is coming from inside the room, which makes everything else here, like the outside of the room, the walls. There's like a lot of ways you could do this, but you will find it hard if you're trying to do it. And this could also mean like color correction as well, where you can crush the shadows or crush the blacks to make it look like this. Because if you try this at home, there's just so much light that bounces off things. Off this wall will start to light this. It'll be hard to really get that. So you might have to play around with a little bit of the coloring if you really want this effect, unless you are actually blocking out the lights with, flags and things like that.
She's going to become the face of our first item. But what is it going to be?
The overhead shot.
Overhead
shot as well. Like just angles and shots that you don't normally see other than like movies, right? Because everyone would probably shoot more of an angle, like a high angle. This is legit overhead.
Easy question. Of course, it's going to be a sweater. But before I start, let me give you
those shots. Look how tight these shots are.
But
it's almost like you don't even know what he's doing, but because he's talking about a sweater and like he's showing you actions prior to that, you understand, right? Taking out the sweater, he's putting it on. But all of these shots, fabric, the lining, everything.
The idea I have for this one is making the dog wrap around the sweater.
There's so many tight shots. So many tight shots.
Will make it way more unique, but also more difficult to design.
So there's this effect that he uses in a lot of his videos, which is the locked on stabilization. And you'll see a lot of it as we go through these videos, but it's essentially what it is it's that effect with that pen where there's something about it. And a lot of people probably, it looks cool, but you don't know how it's done. Years ago, there was a Beats by Dre commercial where it was about headphones, and they used athletes in this commercial where essentially what they're doing is they're going through the motions of like their workouts. Gymnasts are doing flips and stuff, but the way it looks is it's stabilized specifically on I think it's the headphones or the earphones. And then you start to see it a lot too with dancers on TikTok now. There's a lot of dancers that use this effect where they're dancing, but their head is always center within the screen. So it gives it this like weird gyroscope effect. And like there's something about it that, just makes it look good because everything around it is moving. With this pen right in the beginning here,
that will make it way more unique, but also more.
How I feel he did it is he has a pen and he has some type of mount that shoots, this. It could be a mount or something, or he could be shooting it at a high resolution and then just like tracking the tip of this pen. Because as this moves, you'll notice that the pen is always upright like this. You know that he's moving it like this, but visually the pen is always going to be like this. It never moves. See, it's upright like this. Just keep watching the pen frame by frame. His hand is moving around it, but it stays exactly in the same spot. And if you actually follow his hand, he picks it up from the table this way, and then he rotates it into writing position. But the pen is always looking this way. And I'll show you more examples as we go on, but it's an incredible effect because a lot of the times, like, you don't know how people do it. There's multiple ways. He could have had a camera mounted on it, or he could have just been shooting it and then did a lot of post work in After Effects where you can track just like the tip. There's just so many different ways, but the way it looks in a lot of his shots, mind blowing, amazing.
Clean it up using the iPad Pro.
Okay.
As always,
the amount of light coming through here, crazy. So this is sunlight and just like the sun going through the branches and the leaves and stuff. If you notice in a lot of his videos, you get this haze. He does have a haze machine. I was watching one of his videos where he was talking about it. And what that does for even on feature films is it gives the air texture. And I know it sounds weird, but when you start watching films and things like that, just look if you want the effect to see these light rays. It helps a lot. But also there's just something that gives it more of that film look when you have that haze.
As always, I'm going to use Procreate to make my digital designs.
Okay.
Now that it's ready, we can move forward to the next.
If you're wondering how he does those shots, there's something called a slider, but you can get a motorized one where essentially it goes from point A to point B, and you can time it, through an app or maybe on the actual slider itself, where you could say, okay, I'm going to have it rotate from like this to this as it's going from here to here. So that's why it has that cool effect of, the moving time lapse while it's panning.
I'm excited for this one, so
okay, right here, one shot's great. It's from a shot that's underneath the table. He uses like literally the whole space. But even him going through the motions of knowing, okay, this is the pencil that I'm going to be using to sketch, right? And then just thinking, okay, I could just grab this pencil and then shoot it another way, shoot it from the top. But what he does here is he isolates this one pencil. He's like, okay, I'm going to, throw it under the table, move everything so it's out of frame, and you see this one pencil.
I'm excited for this one, so let's just jump into it. Now that that's done, let's take a picture of it and move forward to the next step.
Boom.
Adding some
match cut right there. So it takes a picture of the sketch. Boom, shows the actual picture of the sketch. And as we move forward, he matches it to it on his iPad. But look how close that matches. That's why it works so well.
Next step, adding some sexy lines using the iPad Pro.
We can all agree he uses a ton of shots. That's why his stuff looks great. But the composition and the placement of the camera is what really does it. He has shots here that are like, just feels like over the shoulder or over the arm. But then he has shots
adding some sexy lines using
like this that is a little further and a little lower, right? You don't actually see what he's drawing, but you get that more of a eye level or I guess arm level shot.
Let's add some color to the drawing.
Locked on stabilization.
Eat some mango, and lastly, create the mock-up of our design. We only have 18 days to create 9 more designs, so let's...
Okay, I love this lighting because it's so harsh on one side, on this side, and it legit just splits his face. So if you guys really want to see how certain lighting works, how it could feel different, do what he's doing and shoot yourself, your face, and put the light right here on one side, and then hit record, and then just slowly keep moving it till it gets to the other side. And then when you watch back that footage, you'll see how different the moods are depending on where the light is, and that could affect your style and how you want to do things. You could do interviews like this, you could do all your talking heads like this, even if the light is above you and in front, looks different than if it was right above you. So play around with it. You'll actually start to see how important lighting is to like how certain shots look, and then not just with people but with objects and things that you shoot.
Who doesn't love a good custom zipper?
Ooh.
Another one to the list.
Match cut, right? So he's shooting zippers, making sure it's matched up. You can scale it up, scale it down, because it's gonna be tough to get it exact all the time unless you're like really adamant about getting it like that.
I had no idea what to draw next, but in that moment, as if it was magic, someone knocked my door. So I opened.
See how the colors he uses is so distinct, right? In this room right now, it's this orange and green color scheme. And then outside here is blue.
I opened it, and I had just received some mysterious packages from...
And the thing is, you don't even question it, You're just so in it. You're just so involved in it. You're like, wow, what?
On what to design next. They sent quite a lot of items, so here are a few of my...
This is what I'm talking about when, like, you're following someone in a movie or they're drunk or whatever. It has that effect, the locked-on stabilization. Do you see how it almost feels like the camera's attached to his waist?
They sent quite a lot of items.
And then this is what I mean about color shifting. He does this, I think, 2 other times in the videos that we're going to watch, where it just goes from this
They sent
right into blue.
quite a lot of items, so...
And I believe he did this in maybe DaVinci Resolve, like a really good color grading program. Another match cut. Boom.
Something really strange had happened. I wasn't in my house and not even in my city. So
there's a great shot too, a silhouette. So you expose your camera for the daylight outside, which makes you completely dark. So here's that same lockdown stabilization effect. And now that I'm rewatching it, I think it is mounted on the actual pen itself, only because look at the top here. It almost looks like there's something mounted, which is cool. I just don't know what camera he's using to actually shoot this. This looks wide enough, so maybe a GoPro. And something light enough to actually carry it on the pen.
Now just the packaging left to go.
Little visual effects. He has this in a couple shots where it's what I feel like is them shooting it a certain way, him rotoscoping it out and then putting it in another scene and just following, like tracking it. A nice use of text there. This is cool. You can do this in After Effects pretty easy. When you do the text, you essentially write the text and then you connect it with a certain object, and just the way it moves you can really tell. So it almost looks like he connected this text to the point here or maybe a point here, because if you look at how that moves, that movement looks the same. So just watch how that tracks.
Well, 2.5 since one drawing just needs some color.
Okay, so let's just think about the movement in that last little part. How much shots is there, one, either movement in it or the camera's actually moving?
To go. Well, 2.5 since one drawing just needs some
leaves.
color.
Following that, boom.
Oh, sorry, needed some color. So today
Silhouette. If you want anything to have a silhouette, you place a light behind the person or object or item, whatever you want to shoot. And what he did here is, as he was coming into it and then talking about it, he has another light on the front side as a key light. And as it's coming in, he's like turning it on.
Sorry, needed some color. 24 hours is a pretty long time, so before I start, let me grab
framing of that. Perfect. This could feel and look different if these things weren't in the frame, right? So you always want to make sure you kind of either fill out the frame or you have some depth to the frame.
To draw. But luckily and out of nowhere, that tree popped up in my mind.
Match cut right there. Boom. So good.
See, a year ago I went to the countryside and spent 5 days staying in a cabin in the middle of the woods. I have a pretty vague memory about this trip, but I think it went a little bit like this.
So what I realized is that a lot of the shots in his room are very, very tight. And then as soon as he's outside of it, look how wide and how open a lot of these shots are. They're just so wide. And obviously it's because, yeah, you're in a room, but the shots feel completely different. Like inside the room, it's extreme close-ups of, you know, fruit and him drawing and writing and eyes and, you know, his glasses or the keyboard. And then you come out here and obviously you can't get a super wide shot of the room, but you could still get a shot where it does feel extremely open. I think the only shots that he uses are those fisheye shots. But even still, that fisheye is so wide. When he's placed in front, it actually feels like he's really close to the camera. So there's still a different feeling depending on the different lenses you use and the focal lengths. And that's why it's important. You know, the more that you start to understand that and like get this idea and feeling, you can actually really use that to your advantage when you are shooting.
So now it's time to add some color. The timeline is
him saying it's time to add some color, then having that color shift.
to add some color. But let's not get overconfident because this is a really detailed drawing. My brudas, let's just jump right.
Color shift right there as well. You know, we saw it in the last video where he's putting on the sweater and then it goes from, you know, this looks like white, what is white balance to that blue tint. And here as well.
Really detailed drawing.
It's yellow and
My
then
brudas, let's just jump right into
gets into this.
But that with no
This color.
headstone on my grave.
So let's start working on the last page of my sketchbook. After that, I went to sleep and I didn't finish the last page.
What it looks like to me is what he did is he took this shot, superimposed it on this net, right? Like this. And then it almost looks like you can see it on the laptop. I don't know if that's what he's watching, right? And then like faded the edges to make it look like a reflection off of his eye. And then as soon as he blinks, he just takes it off.
After that, I went to sleep and I didn't finish the last page of my sketchbook.
So before, when I was talking about things that really make him different, I talked about problems. And you saw it in these two videos where creator's block, or he doesn't know what to draw, or is he going to finish on time? Can he get some designs done? And I think when you are writing the script or writing the ideas down, the thing that works well is conflict and problems. So as a creator, if you're just going about your day, it's cool. But the thing that really, really stands out to me from him is he's writing these things in it because it takes you on this like emotional roller coaster, like what all good stories do. The second thing that really actually stood out to me, and the more I thought about it, was what I feel like makes it so creative is he makes his room so interesting. And it's, I don't know, maybe as big as this room, but he makes it look amazing. And the way he does that is the variety of shots. You guys saw in his room alone, you see, you know, the couch, the desk from underneath, above, just like from everywhere, different angles. When he does the tight shots, he uses a shallow depth of field, but also uses that locked on stabilization. And obviously the use of moving time lapses. And the reason why I think this is such a cool thing to see is because there's a lot of people, especially people I know, who are like, I don't have much space to shoot. It's like not interesting. I just have whatever, a small room or a small office. Just doesn't look good. I think because that's all he has to shoot in, he made it look interesting. He took the time to really figure out like, okay, what's going to look cool? Obviously, yeah, it's cool. He has the skateboards and there's drawings and stuff up, but there's just so much other things about him shooting in the room in a small space that I felt like birthed the ideas of how to shoot. Hey, what's going to make this look cool? I could just eat fruit. Or I could just sketch this. No, let's make this a moving time lapse. So let's get super tight. Let's just cut it and like get so many different angles where people aren't bored in this small room. And I think that's what really sets him apart. And I think that's what a lot of people and a lot of creators like you guys could take is like, if you guys feel like, man, I have nothing to shoot, or is feeling completely bored of the space, it's like, maybe it's not the space. Maybe it's just how you're actually shooting it. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take it easy. Peace.